Welcome back, guys, to another episode of Questbound Reader. Guys, today we're doing a tier list of my progression fantasy that I've read in the past year and a half. Mind you, progression fantasy is not all I read. It's just my favorite thing to read, as of now, at least. So we're going to grade these from S being the very, very best to F being the absolute worst, and the B, C tier being somewhere in the middle. Okay, so I wanted to start off with two honorable mentions. And well, yeah, let's dive right into it. So the first one is going to be The Will of the Many. The Will of the Many is a Roman-inspired academia progression fantasy where the main character doesn't really get any stronger during the entire book, but a lot of things around him happen where he could potentially get stronger depending on how he plays his cards. It is political. It is dark, and it is very, very interesting. I love the magic system here where you take the will of people and add it to your own, which bolsters your strength and attributes. I think it was a great book. I can't wait for the second one that comes out this year. I really recommend you guys read this. The second honorable mention is also going in the S tier, and that is Of Darkness and Light. Now, some people have said that this is progression fantasy. To me, it's kind of like an in between because while our main character and party do get stronger, it's not that they're physically getting attributes and things like that, like you think of in traditional progression fantasy. Instead, they're just getting older, wiser, and smarter, growing, obviously getting stronger as they grow. There are some progression fantasy elements to it, right? Now he has a dragon. Dragon learns new attacks, new abilities, etc., as they get bigger and older. Excuse me, but it is not traditional progression fantasy. Okay, these two are great. Up Darkness and Light is the start of the Bound and the Broken series. Amazing series. The books get better each one. I loved the last one. I have it here. It's in one of my good shelves right here. And it is amazing. It's an amazing book. I won't be forgetting these characters anytime soon. I highly recommend it for you guys. Okay, now let's start with the typical progression fantasy. And I'm going to start in random order. So let's go with The Art of Prophecy. The Art of Prophecy was probably one of the first books I read that had to do anything with progressing and getting stronger as you go along. Now, The Art of Prophecy is a very slap to your face kind of book where the main character, there's a prophecy, hence the name, that the main character would be this great warrior, yada yada. Long story short, the prophecy was a lie. It was a load of BS. The main character's a spoiled brat, and I remember, I really vividly wanted to punch this guy in the face just because I thought he was so entitled. And then he meets up with his master, who visibly, I keep saying visibly, who actively punches him in the face. So it was great. I love that. I love that the master is this like old retired fighter who's significantly better than anybody else around them, and she single-handedly protects him and guards his life while teaching him not to be such a piece of crap. Some people have said that this is a little YA, being with their interactions and whatnot. I would agree. I'm not a huge fan of YA. To me, most YA is I don't know. I felt like it's a hit or miss, and it's mainly misses so far. But this one, if I do consider kind of YA, and it's a good book. I'm gonna give it. I think I'm gonna leave it right here in B. I was debating B or C, but no, I think B is a fair place to put it. It was a fun book, right? It's a fun book to read. The second one already came out. I haven't read it yet. I will read it at some point. But yeah, I do recommend you guys read this. It's a fun story. It's not that long. It reads pretty quick, and it's Asian inspired. A lot of martial arts. It's fun. It's fun. Okay, let's go with Dungeon Crawler Carl. Now, Dungeon Crawler Carl is a sensational book. I absolutely love it. I'm gonna put it in the S tier, and I'm gonna put it at the top of the S tier for now. It is amazing. Dungeon Crawler Carl is probably the book that I've read that the largest quantity of human beings and other beings die in a single book. Um, and I'm talking about the millions, right? And it's crazy how they do it. And it just the premise of the book is there's a dungeon that gets spawned in the entire earth, right? And everything that's covered with a roof now becomes a dungeon. Anybody that was under that roof is now dead, and metabolized to be part of the dungeon. Now you have the people that were outside or not in a roof, under a roof at that time, who are the actual players. And we start in several million players. I think it was in the 100 millions. I don't remember at the time right now. But these people all have to progress through these levels or these floors that in a given amount of time, right? And if they don't do that, the floor wipes and they die. So they're incentivized to progress through the floors and keep clearing. Now, they can't. So, for example, let's say you have a week to clear floor one. You can't clear it, or you can't go to floor two before those 7 days are up. You can go down these stairs, and they put you like in a holding area, which means you cleared the floor and you're just waiting to go on to the next one. What I love about this book is the interactions between Carl and Princess Donut. Princess Donut is his cat, who also goes into the dungeon and now becomes sentient. And she is like a baby. She doesn't know real life, or at least she appears not to know real life and what it entails, and the darkness that people can portray given the right or wrong circumstances. So they kind of balance each other out. Carl is very sarcastic and has like a middle finger to the air vibe, and Donut didn't start like that, but she quickly becomes like that too, and it's hilarious. The books just are great reads. They're pretty short. I think the first three. I think I'm on book four now. I've loved every single book that I've read. I've given them either 5 or 4.5 out of 5 stars. Yeah, I really recommend you guys read this book. Next on the list is Children of Blood and Bone. Um, this is a rough one for me because this is probably one of the first. This is the first book I think that I actually ever read once I started reading a year and a half ago, and I thought it was good at the time. I was like, man, this is great. I'm going to remember these characters forever. I ended up forgetting every single one of the characters. I ended up forgetting what most of the story was about. And after reading more, I was like, man, this is not good at all. I don't think it's in the F tier. Jeez, I don't. You know, yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm gonna leave this in the F tier. Yep. Okay. So let's finalize, lock and loaded. It's in the F tier. I'll tell you why. So this is very YA, and like I said, YA is a hit or miss for me. Also, there is a lot of like drama between two of the main characters or two of the main points of views, and you're not really sure what's going on. It goes from like I'm gonna fight you and kill you because you have magic, which the main character has magic in a world where you're not supposed to have magic, and then the person trying to kill her is the king's son, and then he's doing this in a crusade, and then he out of nowhere finds out that he can also have magic, and then randomly in the middle of him trying to find her to kill her, he falls in love with her, and like it felt like I turned the page and they were fighting, and then I turned the next page and he was madly in love with her and wanted nothing but protect her against the forces of his father, and I was like, what the heck am I reading? Um, and when I did a refresh on this book, I was like, yeah, there's no way I gave this such a high rating. But I didn't know any better, right? Sometimes you rate things not knowing any better because you haven't read anything better at the time, right? So I think I'm gonna leave that. Yeah, that's there in the F tier. Not talking bad about the author. I thought the premise. Look, this is probably the only African inspired book I've ever read. The magic systems were awesome. I thought they were so unique. The deities that were portrayed were very cool. It was just the YA aspect of it. I just wasn't for me. Okay, moving on is Unsold, which is part of the Cradle series. Now, hear me out. The Cradle series is the first series I ever finished in my entire life. I have it all right here on my special bookshelf. I loved Cradle. I'm going to put it at the top of the S tier. And I'll explain to you why I love and hate Cradle at the same time. I loved Cradle is like a 12 book series, and I loved the first 10 books of the entire series. Some of them were slow, Some of them you wanted to get through so you can get to the next one because you know the next one was going to be so much better. But they were so short that I think the longest one, it was like maybe like the low 400 pages. Um, they were amazing. You start off with this character who is the lowest of the lowest, the weakest of the weak, and he becomes probably the strongest person in that world by the end of the book, along with some of his friends. This is a journey book. It's gonna take you on a journey, and you're gonna either love it or hate it, or you're gonna love to hate it or hate to love it, whatever. But it's good. It's a good experience. I remember reading it. And I'll never forget. I'll never forget the ending of this book. And I say that because I didn't love the ending. I felt like it left a lot of loose ends, and I felt that some of the things happened really fast. Like, for example, the first 5 books, I think it took him a really long time to get to where to that point, and then from then on, he just got stronger so much faster. That by the end of the book, you're like, wow, how's he getting strong so fast? And it kind of, I don't know, I felt like it rushed the ending. Maybe another book to explain some of the things in the middle would have been better. Anywho, I love the series. It's the first full progression fantasy series I ever finished. I absolutely adore it, and I look forward to one day rereading it, maybe with my kids. All right, so next is Sufficiently Advanced Magic. Sufficiently Advanced Magic, I really enjoyed. I'm going to put it in the A tier. Probably it's going to be, I think, the only one in the A tier, maybe. And it's great. I really do love it. It is very similar to Sword Art Online, where you're going to this tower, you're trying to do clear some quest, try to get stronger. Except that this main character comes from a prominent family, and his magical attribute is not like the rest of the family, so he's kind of discarded and thought of as less than everyone else. He goes into the tower with a noble cause, and that is to save his brother who's been gone for years, missing. Nobody knows what happened to him. And through a series of unlikely events, meets people that are significantly stronger than him who help him out, kind of. The magic system is unique. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the whole going into the tower and coming out as you clear things, however you like. I do enjoy those tower clearing games, or anime or books. Probably why I like Dungeon Crawler Carl so much. This one was just not as, to me, as great as Dungeon Crawler Carl, but it is still a great book. I recommend you guys read it. Next, I'm gonna go with The Iron Prince. The Iron Prince, I have to put in the S tier, and I have to put it here now in front of Dungeon Crawler Carl. I love The Iron Prince. Um, is it in front of Dungeon Crawler Carl? Maybe it's tied. It's tied with Dungeon Crawler Carl. I think I like them equally. This series is a lot shorter, and I can't wait for the third book to come out. I've already read the first two. It is a martial arts robotic enhancement progression fantasy, where this robotic parts, I want to say robotic, but they're not really robotic. They're like some mystery artificial intelligence parts that get put into your body, and they make your body stronger. You get taller, leaner, stronger, healthier, smarter, and you also develop some kick-ass weapons from within the CAD, which is what they're called, CAD, which are some some bands on your wrists. Sorry about that. I got excited. So some bands on your wrist, they transform into super cool weapons and armor. Now, as your stats get higher, so too does the ability of your weapon to get bigger, change, transform, and give you better gear on yourself, which then you can always recall right back into the band, and you just have your regular clothes on. There are a lot of, this is like a school setting, right? And throughout the school, our main character starts off being very badly bullied. He's a very sick and weak man, and or boy, and he gets significantly stronger and healthier throughout the book. And he pretty much has an unlimited growth potential, which is amazing because his device evolves at a much faster rate than everybody else's, and it's a beautiful thing to see. All right, moving on. It is Awaken Online. Awaken Online, I'm putting it over here in front of Cradle. I loved this book. This is a very dark, video game esque book where the main story goes on both in the real world and in a video game. Now, In the video game, the learner puts on a headset, and within that headset, he goes into an alternate world where he gets to play as a character that he created. His character, he decides to make a kind of like a think of Dark Magician from Yu-Gi-Oh, without the pointy hat and the weird staff. I guess the weird staff at the start. And he becomes a necromancer. Now, spoilers, right? Spoilers. He is out for revenge against this video game because the world has treated him like crap. And I get it, understandably. There's a lot of gray area in this book. A lot of people die in this book. A lot of non-player characters, right? NPCs die in this book within the game. And this guy is picking up allies as he goes on. I just loved everything about this book. I loved how dark it got, while simultaneously being healthier for the person. And you'll see what I mean when you read the book. Now, I've only read the first book, so you guys, I'm putting it here because if all the books get better or stay the same, I will like it more than all of these other series that I've read. Um, Moving on is Kraken Rider Z. Kraken Rider Z is probably my favorite progression. One of my favorite. It's in the top three progression fantasies that I've ever read. It's in the top probably like 10 books that I've ever read in my life. And I loved it. It is an animal companion, school setting, progression fantasy with a huge underdog story and awesome like fantastical elements with different beasts and dragons and krakens and mermen and human and wraiths and phantoms and super cool. There's also like magicians and stuff like that within it. And I loved it. I think the thing I liked the most about this book is the interaction between Z and Jessup. Jessup is the Kraken. So they are silly, they're goofy, while at the same time being vicious to protect each other and keep each other safe from harm. I loved it. You guys will too. Give this book a shot. Trust me on this. Okay. Next is Mother of Learning. And Mother of Learning, I'm going to put it in the C tier. I know. I think 95% of the people that I've seen on BookTube rate this book, give it like an S tier, an A tier. But to me, it was kind of bland. He Nothing crazy really happened. It was a time loop where he dies and he goes back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and he gets stronger every time loop. But I felt like there was so much potential that was missed out. Okay, um, Into the Labyrinth, I'm gonna put in the F tier. Into the Labyrinth is a very YA progression fantasy that is kind of bland. I don't even want to talk about it that much. I read the first three books. I was kind of upset at myself for reading the first three books because I didn't like them. And I think I rated them higher than I should have because they were like emotional picks because I wanted to like this. I read this early on, I think right after reading Cradle, and I really desperately wanted it to be the next Cradle, but it wasn't. The last book I'm going to rate is The Wandering Inn, and The Wandering Inn is my favorite book of all time. It's my favorite book of all time because of the story. And let me explain to you what it's about. So it's a bunch of humans who get transported into Earth, and or not Earth, sorry, an alternate version of Earth, I guess, or of a world. And in this world, there are magical beings. There's magic. There's so many fantastical things, different races, different creatures, and it's beautiful. Within this world, the premise is you can do certain activities to get you a class. So, for example, if you chop wood, you might get like a logger class, or if you are you do strategy games, you might be a strategist, or if you fight with swords, you might be a warrior or a blade master, etc., etc., etc. And you have our two main characters, Aaron and Ryoka, who are two girls just trying to survive. Ryoka was used to like running a lot, so in this game, she becomes a runner and she refuses to take any magic um, or skills to level herself up. Erin becomes a barmaid and uses her ability to help others, and this is how these two people get together and try to change the world for the better. Now, with that said, they're also trying to return to their world, and they have no idea how to do it, but they know that they need to become stronger in order to help others, and in order to fight off the enemies that they make in this game. Now, there are a lot of bad creatures that try to hurt them. And this book gets very dark. Some of the books within this series are very, very dark books, not only for Eren and Ryoka, but for some of the other characters who we share in point of views. There are a lot of point of views in this series. There are books almost solely dedicated to point of views, different from Eren and Ryoka's. But and I think some of those point of views I've liked even more than the point of views from Eren and Ryoka. Um, you guys are definitely going to find at least one or two characters in this story that you're going to love. There is a lot of gray area in between some of the things that are done here in the Wandering Inn, and I love it. I adore this series. This is, if I had to recommend one series to anybody every single time, it would be the Wandering Inn. It has everything. It has romance. It has fighting. It has strategy. It has mystery. It has redemption. It has underdog stories. There are a lot of good things in this book. I really recommend you guys read this. I hope you guys enjoy this book. Give it a shot. Give the series a shot. The author, Pirate Alba, has a website. Look up The Wandering Inn on Google, and you'll see their website, where the entire series is there for free. If you guys want to, check it out or read it, give it a shot, guys. There's no way you won't like this series. Like, or obviously there's a way if you don't like fantasy or anything like that, obviously. But if you like fantasy, you're gonna like this series, especially if you like progression fantasy. It starts off slower, but it picks up so fast, and you're even though the books are humongous, right? The books are huge. Um, the the sheer amount of enjoyment that you're going to get out of every book, I can guarantee that you're going to love it. I hope. If you don't like it, well, fight me, whatever. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching this. Let me know what you guys think of this tier list. Let me know if you've read some of these, most of these, none of these, and share with me any that I might have missed that you guys really enjoyed. As always, take care. I'll see you guys later.